And finally, our last panelist is Elisa, who is a psychologist and educator member of Solidaridad Global con la Revolución Syria, involved in organizing political and humanitarian events for the revolution, and also founder of Betemana project with Syrian children refugee in the border. And she will be talking about her work with the Syrian Solidarity movement in Spain and how she became involved and the importance for the left to take a clear stance on what's happening. And she's speaking from Barcelona, Spain.
Hi, thank you, Yasser. Joseph, you killed me. Everything I had written down, you said already.
No.
And he said he didn't have anything to say. Yes.
Say it again.
No?
Sorry. We're the same family, hey, Ken.
Yeah. And the most important point that I'm always trying to insist on is this crazy idea that we are fighting against all the time. Everybody who are working somehow for the Syrian revolution anywhere in the world from the left perspective, that we got called anti-imperialist. And it's something that we shouldn't pay attention to because it takes energy from us, but it's because we have maybe spent so much time fighting imperialism in other areas, on other moments. It boils our blood. And there's the idea that imperialism is only the American imperialism, and not that it's just, like Joseph said, a system that works to gain more political power, and its main enemy is always the people who they want to have power over, and that's the same people who are revolting anywhere in the world. That's why they want to suppress it. But I won't say any more about this because Joseph and Yasser and everybody has said this already. In Barcelona, and I think in every big city in Europe that I know, also in the United States, I know in South America too, there have been people who have started to do stuff for the Syrian revolution, but mainly for every Arab Spring that we have got to know. And this, as Yasser said before, it's very important to us, people with leftist ideas in Europe at least that I know of, because it sparkled the Jama, I don't know the word in English, of our political change now in Europe, at least in Spain. As you said, the Occupy movement. Before the Occupy movement, we had the Occupy movement in Spain after the Arab Spring. I mean, we saw our brothers and sisters and friends in Egypt, in Tunis, even in Syria. We saw them so courageous because here you go in the street here and you have the police against you, and sometimes there are some people who have to go to the hospital, who go to jail for a couple of nights, maybe who are detained for some months, but you are not risking your life. And you see these people who are so oppressed that they know that if they go on the street, they probably get killed, especially in Syria. And you have to get inspired by this, by the courage they have. So we do the same. We see our realities are different, but we also ask for the same dignity, social justice, freedom, more power for people, etc. And we do the same. We go to the street, we occupy the squares, and we demand stuff. And when we do this, we get no results at the beginning, but we start organizing on the ground. And we also lost hope because I think it happened everywhere, especially in Egypt, I think. When we are used to have changes so fast, and we expect that we are going to revolt, and it's so big, and you see so many people in the street, and you think changes are coming, and they don't. And then you lose hope. You think it's impossible. As we see in Europe, it's not so impossible. If you don't have the super counter-revolutionary forces against you that it's been going on in the Middle East for the reason that we already know because you have explained very well. So that's my main motivation to support people in Syria is this, because I see myself in their shoes. I saw myself in the same demonstrations as they were. I didn't get killed. I didn't get shot. I survived, but I could have been there. And it's getting very tiring because of what you said. You organize anything here, and you get dozens of people, not more. You do something for Palestine, it works. It's difficult, but it works. You do something for Syria, it doesn't. So it gets very tiring. Also to be attacked, insulted physically on the social media and everywhere, as Yasser said, because I was with him in Tunis too. And every time we post a video of anything or an article, you get a lot of comments calling anti-imperialist, Zionist, jihadi, and all of that. But, and also because you don't really see changes. Like, what's the point of organizing something like this? What is the result? When you see the changes come with the financial, economic power. This is the most important thing because of the society we live in, the world we live in. That's why I think, in my opinion, the Syrian revolution has been hijacked so easily, because the people who have the money are the same powers who are interested in the revolution to fail. Like they put money on some armed groups, as you have said, and they start changing the scenario on the ground. I think for the most important thing that we have to do from Europe is to give a voice as much as we can to these people that are still inside, that have civil society initiatives. And that's number one thing. Either, as we do in Barcelona, also in Madrid, we organize conferences and talks like this. We try to post videos. Translation is very important because most of the material from inside, of course, is in Arabic, and we need to translate in English, Spanish, German, French, whatever. And I think this is the most important thing. The second thing that we can do from the rest of the world is small financial support, because of course we cannot build an army because that's very expensive, but the truth is still so many initiatives inside. As Joseph said, I was crying when you described all the initiatives still going on inside Syria. You cannot imagine, if it's hard for us to continue struggle for 1 year, for years, being politically active. Imagine if drones are bombing every day and you don't have anything to eat and your family members have got killed. The level of depression that it has to be in these minds, it's so high. I don't understand how they still have courage and energy to go outside, still risk. So, of course, you know, the NGOs cannot really go inside. So sending small portions of money inside their different channels to buy food or wood to make fire in the regions who are under siege. They don't have electricity. Medical equipment or medicine or small stuff, educational initiatives. There are a lot of schools going on right now inside that are trying to keep on with the education of the kids who are highly traumatized by, and very much, I don't know the word, they are like in Palestine, many politicians with 4 years old saying, having very strong political ideas, which is very sad and dangerous and hopeful at the same time. And also, they not only they need education and to keep on with their education as always, but they also need some recreational initiatives, like just to have fun, to play, which is something they cannot do. All of this is still going on in Homs, in Aleppo, in Daraa, in Damascus, everywhere. I know you can find them online, you can find them on Facebook or contacting with any of us in order to support this. And this is very much needed, and they are totally isolated and they don't get any financial support because, point one, there is no information coming out and the social media and the big media about this. And when we ask for money here in Barcelona or anywhere, we ask for money for Syria, to go inside Syria, they always ask that they prefer that the money goes to the refugee camps on the border. Why? Because NGOs are there, it's controlled, and there is no armed group. The fear is that if you send money inside Syria, it will end up in the hands of armed groups, jihadists, extremist groups, etc. And this is completely removing all kinds of support and help from the people trying to resist and survive inside. I think this is very sad, and that's the only reason even if it's a very small result, I insist on the need keeping posting articles and talking to people and doing conferences and talks, only so they can get convinced that there's still people inside struggling and with ideas worth of our support. So we can have 100 euros to send there and have 1 day of cinema for the kids. It has gone down to these basics, and it's very sad, but I think it's still worth the time and the money and everything we do, because every day that passes, it gets more difficult. At the beginning, it was so clear. You can see, peaceful demonstrations and clear slogans and everything, and still some people didn't believe. Time passed by. These people are even get killed. They have to go out because they cannot, and I support that, I don't criticize that. They have to go out to survive, to keep on fighting from outside, etc. And every day that passes, every 24 hours, is getting more difficult. So that's why we cannot stop in trying to counter this counter-revolution that's been going on. For me, it's like it's a history matter. This is the key right now to the possible change, not only in the Middle East, but in the whole world. If the Middle East can be successful in building democratic movements from the ground, and it can wipe out the imperialism from Iran, Saudi Arabia, United States, I don't care. This is so powerful for Europe, for every other place in the world, because all these powers that are trying to control our destiny are focusing now there. So that's why I think it's so important. And if it fails, it only gives justification for any other regime or future regime to do the same that Bashar al-Assad is doing with nothing happening to him. I mean, we are only supporting any other regime that might be Spain. Why not? We have a dictatorship 50 years ago. Nothing happened also because it wasn't for the interest of neither the US nor Russia nor anybody to remove our dictator. They got to deal with him as one power figure and not the grassroots movements that were trying to gain control and build in Spain. So it happened before, it's happening now in Syria, and that's why I think we have to prevent Bashar al-Assad to continue, or even the regime, but especially him, to go on with this with no, consequences for him. It's for our own survival as people of the world, you might say. And that's all I have to say, because really I'm overwhelmed by what I have listened to this afternoon. I'm sorry, I cannot add on much more than this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.